But can I share a revelation with you about what God said to me? Oh, this is going to hurt, but it's real. He said, even if your husband is not keeping his vow, you keep yours. Because you came to me and you said to have and to hold, for better or for worse. So if I say to have and to hold, and I'm not having or holding my husband, even if, oh, this is going to be real controversial, even if he let me go, oh God, here we go. Even if he let my hand go, watch this, you see this? And God is saying, hold on. You keep your vow, you keep your commitment. He coming back. He's just distracted by the enemy right now. Y'all, this is very real things. Witchcraft, especially in marriages, is as common as a cold.
For us to see, do we really love each other?
She was a wise woman.
You don't know what you don't know, right? So once you're exposed to something new, you're like, wow, this is how it's supposed to.
I don't know what to do. He will, of course, cover me in prayer. I have done things my own way, very erroneous.
I mean, when I tell you endured,
It was just the overflow of every emotion.
The word widow, I completely despise.
Has tainted this area of sex so much.
Hey, Kingdom Wife Mom Boss. Thank you so much for joining me today on another episode of the Kingdom Wife Mom Boss podcast. I have a special guest with me today. Pretty sure I met her in these clubhouse streets.
Absolutely.
In one of these rooms. And I think her story was very empowering. It's very moving. And she is a motivator of other Kingdom Wives. And I definitely had to get her on the show so that she can pour into the Kingdom Wife Mom Boss community. I'm going to have Natalie go ahead and introduce herself.
Oh, thank you so much, Clemetra, for having me. My name is Natalie Riche. I am the Proxy Wife. I have started this ministry. It probably started about 4 years ago. I had wrote my first book called God, Grace, and Mercy, Surviving Tough Times and Seasons of Marriage, not realizing it was going to be a prophetic book, and not only realizing it's going to be a prophetic book, but a prophetic journey. And so I started off with just really allowing God to work on me. Then he gave me the assignment after I got myself together to learn how to be an intercessor. So when I say the proxy wife, most people are like, what do you mean when you say proxy wife? It literally means to have the authority to stand for somebody else. And so what God has revealed to me on this ever evolving journey is the power and the authority that I have as a wife who is in covenant with her husband, and how I can make heaven's agenda relevant here on earth through my prayers and my intercession. So that's just a little bit about me. I've been married now, it will be 10 years in November. And so my journey started right about year 5. And I've just been walking this thing out, and God has been gracious. So thank you for allowing me to introduce myself, and I'm excited about what we're going to talk about today.
You said you were a mother too.
I am a mother of 3 amazing, handsome kings. I
All
did.
boys.
All boys. I am a boy mom. Okay.
Yes, you are.
And so I was like, Lord, you must really think very highly of me for you to put men in my hands, because we often don't realize how important a mother's role is in her son's life, and how he will choose, come on, somebody, his wife, all right, based upon either the wounds that we cause as mothers or the healing and the restoration that we show up in. So, yes, I am a mom of 3 boys, 3 kings, and I'm excited about it.
Yes, I think that's absolutely amazing because, you just really begin to think about it. Boys and girls are definitely incredibly different. They take in things differently. They pour out things differently. And shout out to any mother out there who is a mother, period, but definitely the mother of boys. You are raising a leader, and it's definitely important to have that relationship with God so that you can know how to raise that leader, because the enemy comes in at an early age to try to get us to take them off course from the destiny that God has for them. And how amazing is that on your journey, God also allowed you to have these three amazing men so that you can teach them to not walk in the era that we might have walked in as adults, into how to treat their wives and how to raise their families. Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely. God thought very highly of you to give you three boys. I only have two. I have two boys and I have two girls. We actually just dropped my daughter off at college this weekend, baby. It's a hard weekend. Just pray for us, sister.
Yes.
Pray for a sister. And I get to my
Understand.
desk and I found a letter that she wrote me. And I was like, baby, I'm not going to read this letter before this podcast. Because, baby, we're not going to do that. She was trying to set me up for the whole okie doke. So,
I love it.
girl, listen. But I don't want to necessarily delay. I do want to jump right into your story. I think that it is amazing that you feel like God had you write this book, and then this book actually kind of became your blueprint to how to get through your own situation, which makes the book that much more powerful because it is something that you've lived and experienced, and now you get to share with other women. And I'm not even gonna lie to you, baby, she had to Google proxy. I was like, what is the proxy wife?
Yes.
What is this? So thank you so much for clarifying what that was. But jump into the story. Tell us about your journey and how you walked the walk of becoming the proxy wife.
So yes. So first of all, let me start off with saying my husband is from another country. My husband is from Haiti. And if anybody knows anything about Haiti, there's a lot of stuff that goes on with them spiritually, religiously, culturally. I mean, all the things, right? And so me and my husband, when we met, I was like, oh, he's so amazing. We always had a great conversation. One of the things that attracted me to my husband was that I never felt like I had a lid on me. And I don't know if you've ever experienced or been in a dating relationship where you felt like a lid was put on you, or like you couldn't shine as bright as God had made you. I had experienced that in previous relationships and dating times. But when my husband came around, never felt that quench. Felt totally accepted, totally like, go girl, that's you. And I was like, this guy gets me, right? And so we get married. And this is the thing that people really don't talk about. And we really have to have more conversations concerning how people grew up. That's why I was even talking about motherhood. My husband was not raised by his mom or dad. He was raised by his grandmother, but they were alive. So just think about even unpacking that. Me coming from my dad being a pastor and my mom first lady for the majority of my life, we grew up in two totally different worlds. But somehow our grace to accept and love each other was there. And then what I found out was, as this journey began to unfold, there was some generational things that were underlying in our relationship that showed its ugly head. And oftentimes we don't think that marriage is going to be a mirror, but marriage will absolutely show you who you are. And what that ended up doing is, and this is where the crossroad comes in, you have a decision to make. So when me being a woman of faith and this being a kingdom show, God is going to show you who you are first before he ever shows a flaw in anybody else. And so I was over here like Miss Perfect, like, okay, I'm saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost. I ain't out here cheating, lying, running the streets. I'm not doing none of those things. So Lord, what is it,
I'm
right?
gonna go ahead and tell you, you stepping on some toes because, baby, when I went through my journey, that was the first thing. It was like, but wait, he's the one that's, and God was like, no, let me help you out first, because before you start praying for him and interceding for him, you're gonna have to get yourself together because I need you to be right before me. So I know you stepping on some toes.
You know what? That's so true. But I loved it because the surrender in that moment started my journey. If I didn't say yes to God then, I wouldn't be where I am now. So sometimes that yes is the hardest yes to give. That surrender is the hardest surrender because we don't like to think of ourselves in a deficit or that we can be refined in areas. And so what I had to learn is God was refining me in the first part of my journey. And so once he refined me, then this is what actually happens when you're refined. Your level of understanding increases. God had to show me, okay, girl, yes, you see all the things. Yes, you're right about all these things, but I'm not showing you to point a finger, but I'm showing you so that you understand and that you can pray from a pure place. My God.
Wisdom and discernment.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And because I was able to do that, God began to give me this journey of what it means to be a proper intercessor, what it means to really be a helpmeet. What I learned in the beginning of my journey is I didn't want to help. Okay, okay. I saw my husband in all of the places that I felt like he was not showing up the way he needed to. And then guess what I did? I teamed up with the devil. I became the accuser of the brother. I'm like, he done this, Lord. He done been over there. He done this. And God was like, okay, all right. But now I'm positioning you to show grace the same way I showed you grace when you didn't have it all together. And so I thank God that I had the heart that was pliable enough to not become the accuser, but to become who God called me to be in my husband's life, which was a helpmeet, an intercessor, an advocate to see the things, discern the things, and pray from a position just like Jesus did for me.
Can we pause right there for a second, though? Because I don't think a lot of wives understand how they are the accuser of the brethren. And so
Ooh.
every single time you throw it up in your husband's face that something he did in the past or something that he's not doing correctly or anything that doesn't necessarily encourage him but puts a further weight on him to make him feel like he's not doing enough or he's not enough, you are an accuser of the brethren. And it is the enemy that is in your ear that is making you to recall these things. And can we just be honest and say sometimes even on the healing journey, the enemy comes back and he be like, hey, you remember when
That.
when and so it's in those
Yes.
moments where it's like, get away from me, Satan. Like,
Yes.
I'm not going to come into agreement with you. And I think that a lot of wives don't realize that when they do things like that, they are coming into agreement with the enemy's agenda to break up your marriage, to keep that man down, and to cause wounds that can take years to heal from. Like, okay, I'm sorry. I had to pause there because a lot of wives don't realize it. We
You
we are
right.
perfect patties and we got it all together. We know how to pray. We know how to read that Bible. We know how to do all of these things. And then
Yes.
we start pointing our finger at our husband saying, you're not doing enough. And that doesn't help him necessarily in a sense. And I know a lot of wives are out there like that and they just don't realize it. But baby, you go ahead and keep stepping on them toes. Go ahead. Keep talking.
But you know what? I love the fact that God saw me fit to help because a lot of times the gifts, the things that God has placed inside of us is literally to aid and help our husbands through their journey. And that's why even just kind of shifting it a little bit, it's so important even as mothers, wives, to understand his position as a son, to understand his position as a husband, as provider. Like there's so many aspects and we have because God made us this way. God made us pay attention to details. That's what we do. We can see what's wrong real quick. We can assess. We can make a plan. We can put solutions. We can do all those things. But God put that in us because He knew our husbands needed it, not to bash them over the head with it. And can I just say this little caveat? I know I'm gonna hurt somebody's feelings, but this is what happens when we start pointing the finger. they begin to look for relief in other places. And a lot of times men will find their heads in the laps of Delilahs. Uh, Also in the midst of Jezebelic other relationships where it's control and manipulation because we didn't show up the way God wanted us to. So we just have to be careful about that. Like, what do we think we're helping, but when we're pushing, we have to ask ourselves, where are we pushing our spouses to? So
Can I give a comfort here though?
yes,
It's not that your husband wants to leave you. It's
right.
not that your husband doesn't want to be with you. Because the question becomes, well, why don't they just leave? They don't want to leave. They chose you. Like they want to be
Exactly.
with you,
Exactly.
but they don't know where the relief is anymore. They don't know. And by no means, if your husband has found his head in the lap of Delilah, by no means is that your fault.
Right. It's not your fault. It
By
is not.
no means is that your fault. You go ahead.
I was gonna say it's not your fault. It is absolutely not your fault. This goes back to raising that level of understanding. Because there's a lot of wives who find their husbands in that position and we're hurt. And then we have to come back and backtrack and say, okay, where did I watch this? Where did I not listen to God? Where did I maybe miss that still small voice where he was telling me how to position myself as his wife? And we have to remember we have an adversary. I don't think people understand that as soon as you say I do, oh, it's off. Boom, boom. Enemy has all listen.
Baby, you walking down the aisle and the enemy got his foot out there. He's trying to trip you up. Before
Back.
you get me down there.
And let me tell you, and the enemy also does not mind the long game. Come here with me. He will play the long game, and it will be years that he will take to make a plan fall into what it needs to be. And I don't think people understand that either. The enemy plays the long game. And so a lot of times when couples hit crisis, because that's what my area is, couples who hit crisis, sometimes they look back and they're like, I don't even know how I got here. And it was all of the small decisions that put you on a trajectory to get to where you are. And so God showed me just how patient the enemy will be in order to sabotage your marriage. Now, sometimes he'll come right out, boom, first year, second year. But then you can have betrayals 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road. You see what I'm saying? So you have to realize that the enemy will be patient in tying up both you and your spouse in an oppressive manner that keeps both of you from being liberated in the freedom God gave as husband and wife.
Yeah, that's real good because again, a lot of the wives you said, taking the moment to ask God where did I miss it? But I think that was so important in comparison to a lot of wives saying, what did I do?
Mhm.
What did I
That.
not do? Or what
Right.
did I not do enough of? Like, why did this happen? And so I do understand personally, sis, do personally understand how the enemy will come in your ear and try to make a wife feel like it's their fault. But again, like like Natalie and I just both said, it is not the fault of the wife. But the question here is, why wasn't I tapped into God enough to see it before it happened?
Can
Why
I
wasn't I tapped in and got enough to see that as the helpmate, I was not meeting the needs of my husband? And that I feel like that is a hard place for a wife to, because again, it's a level of surrender. And when you surrender, you got to let go of yourself. You got to let go of your feelings. You got to let go of your flesh. Because again, we're going back to and we're saying, okay, why wasn't I in relationship enough to know, this is shifting? But there is a wife out there I know who says, why did I have to be? Why didn't he just do the right thing? And so the
can
surrender
I
part is,
start right there? That right there, that's what I want to hit on. Oh, yes. Can I tell you, as a witness, I have seen several marriages go down a dark path. Watch this. Not because the Lord did not warn the spouse. Not that sometimes people know what they're doing and they make the decision anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And it has nothing to do with you. You can say, hey, God can send 3 to 5 people in their lives to warn them. But sometimes when a person's mind is made up, there is nothing you can do about it. You just have to say, okay, Lord, this is the decision that they made. Give me the grace to go through it and give that person grace. I think that's so relevant because, like you said, it's never what you do. Because even in our journeys, right? If our foundation is Christ, Christ has already told our spouses, hey, this is not it. And if they didn't hear the Lord, I guarantee you, God told somebody else and put it in the mouth of somebody else and say, hey, this ain't where you want to, this ain't it. But they be like, they remember that song, we're gonna do it anyway. Okay, that's what they do. They do it anyway. But then what we have to also realize is even when they do it anyway, God has already worked all things together for their good. God has already worked it out, even when we might be the what I call the recipient of the disobedience. Oh God. The recipient of the disobedience of our spouses. Can we still position ourselves in a way that still honors God and covers them, even when they know they're making the wrong decision? We know they're making the wrong decision. God knows they're making the wrong decision. Can you position yourself to still be in agreement with what God said about your spouse, even when they make decisions that we know are not in line with God's will?
Yeah, and you definitely have to have God in order to do it. Because baby, I am not in disagreement with therapy. I'm not in disagreement with therapy at all. But you need therapy and you need Jesus. Because I'm telling you, the enemy comes and he attacks. But that's not it. You said something about the mindset. I baby, the witchcraft. Baby, it's
Listen,
it's whole witches out here
whole ones.
putting witchcraft on these marriages.
Absolutely.
And if you are a wife who does not believe in it,
Oh, baby,
baby,
you
I need
already
you to
did. Yeah,
research
you
it
already
because I
behind.
don't want you to have to experience it. Because that's some stuff that you legit gotta go. I mean, you gotta go into it for your marriage and for your family anyway. But when you're dealing with a whole nother level of witchcraft, you gotta start breaking stuff and binding stuff. And I mean, that is so important. And speaking of going back to what you were talking about in the beginning, the raising of these men. Like you don't know what they were exposed to. You don't
Come
know what
on.
spiritual spouses they got. You don't know any of these things, right? My mentor has a 3-year dating plan. And I said this to someone else. I told my daughter, I said, I'm gonna buy you this 3-year dating plan. Baby, she looked at me like I was slap crazy. But the point is, in that amount of time, you have time to learn these people. You have time to learn their family, their history, how they respond, how they react, how they treat. Like you have time to really learn these people. And I know I mentioned this in another podcast. People don't ask God anymore about somebody. Actually, I just saw a reel about it, but some people don't ask God anymore. Like, hey, is this the person that I should marry? They just be like, oh, I love this person and I'm getting married. And the reel that I saw said that y'all don't ask God about getting married. You just go ahead and get married and invite God to the wedding.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good.
And I was like, oh, that is real good. Because people do, they get married to someone who they did not ask God about, and then they ask God to please protect the marriage. And God is sovereign, God is love, God is peace. But sometimes we with people that we just not supposed to be with.
And you know what? That's the whole thing. God, okay, so let me have a full disclosure moment. I remember going through the journey with my husband, okay? Like I said, he was the first man in all of my dating relationships that I never felt the lid. I was ready. I was always ready to be a wife. And when I prayed and I asked God, I was like, God, can I make, this is what I said. I should have been more specific. We got to be more specific, y'all. Be very specific about what you ask. I was like, should I marry this man? That was my question. I heard no. And I married him anyway. Now watch this. Come here. Whole marriage falls apart, right? And then I go back, like you said, and I was like, Lord, I did this. I was like, Lord, forgive me. I repent. What do you want me to do? The Lord said to me, now that you have come to me, I have the power to intercede and do what needs to be done. I was never supposed to leave my husband because, watch this, covenant. See, people don't want to talk about covenant. We love a good contract, baby. A good contract, honey. We can slide right on out. We can dip and come right on up out of it and go on to the next one. But what God made me do in my process, He made me walk it out. And if I didn't have the love of God and the honest, sincere love for my husband, because a lot of people think they love people, but they really don't. I'll tell you, when you really love somebody, let them treat you any kind of way and see how you respond. It's a love that God gave me for my husband. Now, what I further understood in time was that it was probably not the right timing. Right man, wrong timing. Still made it wrong. So then I had to walk a very hard journey of us being restored because I made that decision knowing what I heard, but still not having all the information. That's why I say be very specific about what you ask the Lord. We have to be very specific. And I want to share this too. This is another thing. I'm gonna give y'all a cheat code. Cheat code coming. When I found myself in that place where my marriage had completely fallen apart and I was at the feet of Jesus, like, what do you want me to do? I asked God, show me who my husband is in your word. Show me who my husband is in your word. Guess what now this already gonna be a telltale sign. My husband, God told me to go to the book of Hosea. Yeah, that look right there. Exactly. That look right there.
But why is that the same book? Anyways, go ahead. Gotta be showing out. Go ahead.
So that when I learned who my husband was, then I understood what he was up against. Then I knew how to, watch this, present myself in the courts of heaven concerning him, because when we're married, now the two become one. Do you know the devil was mad because what ended up happening is now I got authority. Now I can go to the courts of heaven and say, listen, these things have happened generationally. These things have been happening, and I'm repenting on behalf of my husband. That's that proxy. You become the intercessor. You stand in the middle of what's trying to kill your husband. Oh, God. See, you don't want to talk about that. What's coming after them? Now you said, God, I'm willing to stand in the middle. Just like Jesus made intercession for me at the cross, now he's giving me the ability to make intercession. So now I can go to the courts of heaven and begin to cleanse a bloodline that I would not have had access to had I not been in covenant. Okay.
That's so good, Natalie. That is so, so good. And so true, girl. When you're praying for your husband, sometimes you start praying and breaking stuff off the minute you didn't even know was there. And you be like, God, where? Where had none came from? I had none seen it. So I'm going to tell you, the last conversation we had, I'm sorry, I got to clear my throat.
Oh, you okay?
The last conversation we had about your marriage, I remember, I think I was writing you in the clubhouse room to just say, hey, I'm praying for you and your husband. And I think we were coming at the end of this period where you and your husband were trying to figure out what you were going to do. And that was all I knew about it. And so I want you to just tell me, you don't have to go through the whole thing if you don't want to go through the whole thing, but just tell me the end period of, so you guys just made the decision to work it out and to keep going.
Yes. And I'm going to tell you, I had to carry the load of what it meant to. I had to carry the cross for both of us for a very long time, and I still am. I am
Heavy.
still. It's heavy, and I'm
You
still
got to
in.
have community.
And thank God, I got some women that got, because God knew what I needed at certain times, right? And so God equipped me with people who also had the faith to believe what God said about my husband. So I didn't go back to that. So when he showed me who my husband was, he then told me who he really was. Makes sense? He showed me the sin he was in, but then he told me who he actually was. And so, what I had to learn how to do is believe in what God said about my husband as I addressed the sin that he was in. And so, it can be very dichotomous because you looking like, look, this is not right. But then it's like, but then I got to believe what God said. And to be honest, the body of Christ, there are not many believers who really believe and have faith that God will finish the work that he started in our spouses. A lot of people think people are lost causes, but God said, I am a man that will not lie, neither will I have to repent. If I said it, it will come to pass. And I don't like when people think that they don't hear God when it comes to their marriage. You can hear him for everything else. You can't hear God when he says stay in a marriage that you feel like you want to walk out of. I don't know if God told me that. Oh, babe, you heard him. And if he said stay, then he has a plan to restore that which was broken. So
I think that is the thing that I know that is the thing that got me through. Like because the healing process, baby, the healing process is brutal. And so I think that was the thing that's gotten me through, and probably a lot of people through in that healing process, is knowing that God said what he said, and he doesn't do things for frivolously or in vain. And so if he told you to say that, he has a plan for it, and he knows what's gonna, what he has for it. And walking through the healing process and seeing even just the minute changes of the growth and of the healing, like it's rewarding, and it wants you, it pushes you to keep going. And so I think that is just very, very important. I'm glad that you and your husband decided to work things out because, like you said, the enemy he is out here like canceling marriages like all the day long. And can we just be incredibly honest?
yes,
And I want you to just share with me, do you have moments? I think you did kind of just say that. Do you have moments where you feel like how can I put that? Have moments where you feel like you're going through this healing process coming from a certain thing, but then sometimes you mentally get pulled back into the situation and it takes you a minute to come out of it. And like you're not, even though you're not acting on it, like you just have moments where you're just like mentally, still trying to process what happened as you're walking out this healing journey.
absolutely. Absolutely. Um, because me and my husband were separated in separate homes, and there was a period in time of years. See, like I need y'all to know this is not no quick cleanup process. This is like years. This is 3 years that we're still going through a restoration process. So I would just want people to be very realistic. People oftentimes don't get this instantaneous healing when you're coming out of stuff, okay? But I had to start dismantling these thoughts. Like you were saying, you said earlier, you think your husband wants to leave. He don't want to leave. He want to stay. But the enemy sometimes will make us believe that this man want to be everywhere else but home, and that's not true. So I remember, this is a really clear one. I was like, I had called my husband. I was like, hey, baby, sorry if I'm bothering you. He was like, baby, you're not bothering me. Even just those small things, like how you present yourself in those moments, and having to be like, my husband, I remember one conversation, I promise you, there were like 3 times that my husband had to correct me, like, no, you're not a problem. It's okay for this. I'm glad you told me that. And it's like, when you go through, people don't understand when you're in battle, there are some wounds and some scars. And as they're healing, sometimes what is it called? Phantom pains, where it's not really there, but it feel like it and it still feel that hurt. That is a very real thing. But this is the part that I love about it. There's a grace that comes in the healing process. And we both have to have it for each other, whether you felt like you were the one that was offended or you're the offender. There's grace that's needed for the healing to take place. And so there were certain things that I would say that my husband be like, I'm not even thinking that. There were things that my husband would say, watch it, I'll give you one for him. So when a person makes a decision to do opposite of what the Lord says, a lot of times they're going to be surrounded by people who are going to fail them because it's just a result of their consequences of their actions. So the people that he was around were not dependable. But I've never not been dependable for my husband. But I remember he asked me to bring him a shirt. He worked like an hour away. I didn't call him, but I told him the day before I was going to bring it. I got there and he said, hey, I went ahead and bought another shirt because I didn't think you were coming. And I said, baby, when have I ever not showed up for you? And then he sat back and he said, you're right. This is what I mean when I say that healing journey, we have to give grace on both ends. And that's why it's hard, but it's not impossible. And it's a beautiful thing to watch both of you evolve and to get better, healed, whole in the way that God is calling for you to be. So those are just two small examples, but those are your daily living tasks. That's what it looks like to be on a healing journey day by day.
Okay, you said something in there without necessarily saying it, but the insecurity factor.
Yes.
It's the
Yes.
insecurity. I mean, it's like the wound is trying to like chip away at your confidence, right?
Mhm.
And so you're no longer confident. Ooh, okay, Lord. You're no longer confident that you're the same woman that your husband desired at marriage. But you are the same woman. And so you begin to just minute how you show up, or you feel like you said, you feel like you're bothering them. But what I learned is in those moments where I feel like I'm bothering them, the enemy just doesn't want me to communicate with him.
Say that.
He wants me to be quiet. He wants me to be silent and not communicate with him. And so there is an insecurity factor that happens
It
when
is.
marriages go through turmoil or through a rough patch, because the love that was there before, you feel like it's no longer there. It's still there. It's just it got some impurities in it. We got to clean out those impurities, but the desire is still there. The love is still there. And so the insecurity is in the trauma, and we have to come out of that place so that we can walk in another bolder level of confidence as a wife.
Can we talk about that communication? That's huge.
Yeah.
I have a very controversial state or stance when it comes to communication. I'm very much, I would consider what people would consider aggressive when it comes to communication. And what I mean by that is I make sure that every day I'm touching my husband in some sort of level of communication. There has been this misconception, this notion that a man who wants you will pursue you, and that you should have to lay back and let this man do the work to come to you, especially if he was the one that was the offender. Oh, baby, I'm sitting back. You need to come to me.
But it's a real feeling. It's
And
a
let me
real
tell you,
feeling.
it's a but watch this. This is what hurt my heart so much. I've seen so many marriages end in divorce because both of them were too prideful.
I was just about to say how we had this whole conversation and we ain't said the word pride yet. But go ahead, go ahead.
Too prideful to communicate. And this goes back to the enemy. The enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. That communication piece is the key to a lot of the things that need restoration and healing. When we dated at the beginning, when we not on the phone 24/7, hey baby, how you doing? Text, hey, you know what I mean? And then we gradually fall off. And then that creates an opening for something else to come in. And I know we tapped on witchcraft. Let's go back to that real quick. I don't think we understand how vested the enemy is in keeping a distance, whether sexually, whether communicatively, whether emotionally. The enemy works overtime to break those communications. Those are all communications. He works overtime. And I think a lot of marriages end in divorce because they are comfortable with breaking of communication. But can I share a revelation with you about what God said to me? Oh, this is gonna hurt, but it's real. He said, even if your husband is not keeping his vow, you keep yours. Because you came to me and you said to have and to hold, for better or for worse. So if I say to have and to hold, and I'm not having or holding my husband, even if, ooh, this is gonna be real controversial. Even if he let me go, oh God, here we go. Even if he let my hand go, watch this, you see this? And God is saying, hold on. You keep your vow, you keep your commitment. He coming back. He's just distracted by the enemy right now. Y'all, this is very real things. Witchcraft, especially in marriages, is as common as a cold. But people don't want to see the enemy and they be right in your face, straight up. So this communication thing is a key. Even even if, like for me, I will give a clear example. My husband, especially in the hardest times of our journey in marriage, when he was out of the house, out of the home, all of this, I would call my husband because that was having and holding. He would not return the phone call. And I had to do it consistently every single day to show up because oftentimes we also don't talk about the men never having a stable relationship who can build the handlebars of trust after an offense. Oh God. Can you give your spouse handlebars of trust even after they offended you? That takes consistent communication. That takes, I don't care what you did. That's not going to stop me from loving you or communicating with you. And that's hard. It's a very hard thing. And I have learned that God has graced me for the hard things. But that handlebar of trust that I had to build in a season of silence and him literally letting me go, like, I don't want this, I don't want any of it. I had to still build in that season by faith to say, God, I know what you said concerning my marriage. I know the prophetic words that was spoken over my marriage in restoration, healing, and our assignment. So we got to really get tight on that communication and realize that we have a real adversary and that there are men and women, witches and warlocks who are out here with spells, incantations, sorcery, all of it, manipulation, deception, that are having a field day with our spouses because the decisions that they made them blind. And now we're seeing it and we're seeing it so we can intercede for it.
You said so much in that to unpack. Number one, I love that you brought up the fact that wives think that they're supposed to, lay back. He was chasing me, so but they want to feel desired too. And I think that that is a lot of the issue in marriages is men don't feel desired. They still desire you, but they themselves don't feel desired. That was such an important key factor that you gave there. The communication part, that was such a key factor. The pride part, thank you so much for just bringing that into that and even carrying that into what you just said. You just said that our spouses become blinded and they don't see it, right?
They do.
But are we so prideful that we don't want to pray for them? Like that I think that was a good point that you brought up there because pride does keep us from being the hell. Everything that you're saying is just like flowing so good because pride we are supposed to be the helpmate. That means covering your spouse and praying when he's lost. But are we so prideful that we're like, oh, they should have known better? I'm not going to cover them in prayer, because then we're the ones that end up hurt, right? And so as you were talking, I had to pull up one of my favorite scriptures. It is Colossians 3:23-24. And it says, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord and not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving. You said some key things. The holding on when when you know, and again, that feeds into our insecurities, right? That feeds into so many things. Like, baby, the stuff that the enemy, I want you to just share, because I want you to just share some of the things that the enemy can put into a wife's head in a situation like that, where you're holding on to this man, and this man is like wanting, like not wanting to leave, but his eyes are somewhere else, or
Yes.
his mind is
Okay.
somewhere else.
I've heard it all. And this is where God had to grow me, that I would not be a people pleaser. I have been called delusional. I have been called desperate. I have been called like out of my mind, obsessed with my husband. I've heard all kinds of things. And if I allowed that to enter into me and really take root, I would not be where I was. But because I had gotten so firm in my foundation of what God told me, I probably would have went in a different direction had I listened. I literally have had people to tell me, you waited too long. Why are you taking your children through these things? Your children are watching this inconsistency. What are you teaching? I have heard it all. And if we don't have a firm foundation in what God said, we will find ourselves pleasing others while we're miserable, knowing that we never fulfilled the assignment that He gave us. So then my question is, are you there to appease somebody else who's not even in your marriage, baby? You're not in it. You can I mean, your opinion, you can have one, but you're not in it. You're not in it. So we have to discern how to filter out when the enemy is trying to take you off course, because most of us already have our marching orders. We have our marching orders. But then what we allow the enemy to do is trick us like he did Eve. But did God say? Did he really? Like, he couldn't have possibly, because duh, 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 duh. You see what I'm saying? And when we begin to question and not stand on what God said, oh God, we in for a world of trouble. And the enemy he already done got a more than a foothold. He done came in and wreaked havoc. But yeah, I've heard it all. Desperate, obsessed, all the things you think somebody would say, I have heard it. But I have had that much more resolution about what God told me.
You said all the things you think that someone would say, and I'm gonna say this because this was mine. Because your situation, I'm sure for your like your area where you live was visible for people. My
Yes.
situation was not visible. And so the things that you say, and I'm just talking to the kingdom wife who needs to hear it, your mind will be like, what are people gonna think? What are people gonna say?
Right.
Like, should I, because and I think, I think in that situation the I becomes the important part, and not the God. Like, what does God say? What does
That's a whole
God
word.
think? And that becomes, man, girl, because we can have a whole conversation about today's marriage and how people conform their marriage to what they think the world thinks that their marriage should be. And that goes the same thing. That's the same thing for the healing process. You're healing. That's why I said I'm not against therapy. Go to therapy. But what does God say about your marriage? What
Yes.
is God telling you to do in that marriage? And I can't even, that was so good what you shared, like all of the stuff that you heard, and you said, I'm standing on business. I'm
I'm
standing
standing on
on
it.
Yeah, I'm standing on what it is that God told me to do. And I think that that takes a very strong mindset.
It
If you don't
does.
have a strong mindset, this is where the communication, I mean, the community piece is really, really pivotal in the healing journey, because the healing journey ain't no joke. It's not easy. It's not easy, it's hard. So I have to ask, what would you say to a wife who has found herself in that in that situation? She doesn't have the community, she doesn't have the mental capacity. And I think even in some instances like that, you don't want to pray. Because it's
Yeah.
like, God, why did you allow this to happen to me? Like, why would you allow this to happen? What would you say to a wife who is finding herself in this situation and she doesn't know where to start, she doesn't know how to handle it, she wants to walk away, but she knows that God is telling her not to? Yeah.
Can I just say something, even as a caveat into that? You know, in the Word of God, it talks about how Jesus left the 99 to go get the one, and we always think that this is some unsaved person or some unbeliever. But what God was revealing to me is, no, these are the ones that are with me. These are my children. So when I go to get the one, watch this. How did we become the 99 become the ones who were fussing about Jesus going to get the one? How did other wives whose marriages is a part of the 99 want to talk about the marriage that had to be the one? My God. When you find yourself being that one, know that there will be community that comes back, but you have to be okay in a season of obscurity. Every foundational principle and standing and things that I've learned to be fortified in came in obscurity. I had to be very comfortable with my relationship with Christ. And he had to become the first relationship. A lot of times we still sometimes we get it out of order, right? So community is amazing and we need it. God knows, thank Lord the Lord. I had some Anita Pattons and some Coach Cassandra Williams and Michelle Cerna and Kelly Williams. Thank God I had some people in that community, but outside of that, if my relationship with Christ was not my first priority, I would have missed it. And we have to realize that when we find community, sometimes these people are just broken and they're trying to survive too. And so when we don't take the time for God to come close to us and we draw close to Him, it will feel like an impossible or insurmountable thing to come over when God is saying, I called restoration to your marriage, even if nobody else believes it, even if nobody else is in agreement with it. Even if you don't have a community right now, can you come to me? And will you partner with me as that three-strand cord? Can you be the one that stays with me? Wrap yourself in me, meaning God. Let me give you, because watch this, the word of God will never return void. He said, come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Not only did he say that, he said to the woman at the well, if you drink the water that I give you, come on, somebody, you will never thirst again. So until we get satiated with Christ, my God, till we allow God to satiate us in all the areas of our life, we're not even fit for community. Oh God. We're not fit for community because then we're going to be blown by every wind and doctrine that is outside of what the kingdom principle says. We have got to get engrafted with God first. He's the rock. Then we can go and talk about all the other things and all the other plants and roots and things like that. But that's the reason why a lot of people find themselves lost and burned out because we're going to the wrong source first. It's very easy to pick up the phone and find a girlfriend. Takes a little bit more work for you to go in faith to your prayer closet, talk to God about it, and wait. Oh God, because we want that instant gratification. Lord, I need an answer right now. Lord, I need to know I'm not crazy right now. Lord, I need to know he was wrong right now. And then we miss the relationship, the loving, the cleaving that God wants to do with us so that we can show up as the best representation of him. Do we not realize that we are the representation to our husbands? When they feel our love, when they feel our grace, when they feel all of that, we are ambassadors of Christ. And if we're bad ambassadors and we don't go to our briefings and our meetings and we don't know the culture of God and Christ and kingdom, how are we going to show up the right way in our marriages when he's asking us to fight in a critical moment?
Again, so much to unpack. Oh my goodness. I thank God for the Kingdom wife that's able to catch this episode because I know that it's going to be very helpful for her. Going back to what you said with the 99 and the 1, how can we call ourselves Kingdom? Like, how can we call ourselves Christian Kingdom, but because our spouses did something that was not necessarily in alignment with God, we want to condemn them and burn them to hell? Ooh, that's what I was thinking as you were speaking about the 99 and the 1. And I mean, you see it all the time.
All the
You
time.
see it all the time. And it's like God is telling us, I need you to intercede and pray for this person. But our anger and our hatred in our hearts is so deep for that person that we can't do it. And just being honest, sometimes I think there are times where God doesn't necessarily always tell people to stay. Like, I get it. Like, whatever God tells you to do. But the hatred and the anger that keeps you from being, even if you're separating, if God is telling you to pray for this person. And baby, you said kingdom ambassadors, and I think people look at kingdom ambassadors and they don't realize, like, okay, just tell me if it's just me. I think people look at kingdom ambassadors and they be like, oh, I'm a kingdom ambassador as a mother. I'm a kingdom ambassador as my business. Oh, we're a power couple kingdom ambassador. But do you know that you also have to be a kingdom ambassador in your marriage when your spouse is not, like, you got to help him to the kingdom too. And I feel like people don't look at it like that, right? Am I tripping?
Yes. No, you're not.
Okay.
And that goes back to the even going back to the communication, and people feel like you shouldn't chase no man. This is culture. You shouldn't chase no man that don't want you. That right? But even because Christ lives in us, right? Christ lives inside of us.
Right.
When we go for our husband, it may appear as if it's us going. Understand the 99. I'm talking about community now because sometimes people will be very critical about what they see other people going through, right? So you may see this person that's going to get that one, and that may be your assignment by God. I'm in you and I've empowered you to go after the one, just like I did, just like this what do they call them? Parables,
Mhm.
right? Can I trust you to still go and get the one without being deterred by the 99? We don't realize the power of God in us. Because, and I've heard people talk about the connect day. I think that's the word, Indo connect day, which basically means God. Like when he said, I'm sending a helper suitable for them, it literally means God. Like God, the same word that wives are called God. I was like, oh my Lord. So we have this divine assignment to be beside our spouses. But if they go, can we silence the chatter of the 99 to go get the one? Can we position ourselves to be able to be the ambassador? And the ambassador looks like going,
Go after.
pursuing.
Mhm.
That's what the ambassador does. The ambassador says, "It is. We don't want none to perish. How we gonna watch this? How we gonna go to heaven and be shouting, and then our spouse not make it?"
When we could have did something about it. I'm just saying.
We ambassadors now. We want to wear that title. Oh, we ambassadors for the kingdom of God. But if you're not, if somebody in your circle, come on, come here, somebody in your circle perishes when you had everything in you to create a change, because that's what a proxy wife is. She's a change agent. She comes in and changes that which the enemy tried to take hold of. If you can't do that, how can we pride ourselves in making it to heaven and the people closest to us bust hell wide open? How is that a flex to God? How is that a flex to the kingdom?
Right.
How can we shout and dance our shoes off, sweat our wigs out, right? And then the people closest to us end up in hell. Not on my watch. I'm sorry, I'm not like the enemy can try everything, but not on my watch because God assigned him to me. He said, this woman is help for him. This is the woman that I said she can handle it. So why would I walk away if God said I can handle it? If he has endowed me with dunamis power that lives in me, how can I live defeated?
Yeah, that's so good. I think we have to, first of all, I think we could go on and on
Yeah.
and on because we kind of deal with, we kind of deal with the same thing. And I think we have experiences that definitely help the community, especially now in time. You see, like it's so prevalent now in time. And so I think girl, what did you say? You said I have sent. Oh, you said not on my watch. When you said not on my watch, I was like, okay, that's she just said not on my watch. I'm not doing it.
Uh-huh.
Proxy wife, not on my watch. It's not happening.
It's
I'm not
not.
watching my spouse go down the drain because I'm too prideful to do what God told me to do. And I think that is absolutely amazing. And so I'm just going to take this opportunity to give you space to give any last minute words that you want. Like I said, I think we could go on, but we're not gonna do it for the second time.
I, I just want to tell you thank you for the opportunity because I've been silent for a while. I haven't been out here in the social media streets probably since about April. I kind of went on it wasn't even a sabbatical, but sometimes when you're talking about the kingdom principles and you're hitting up against culture, there's a lot of times where people sometimes may not be ready to hear the unfiltered, unadulterated truth of the word of God. But I thank God for my journey because what I was taught to do in that season while I was really out there was to raise the level of understanding of what it means to stand as a wife. But now the next leg of my journey where you're talking about healing is beginning to pull down from heaven what God says about my husband. So now I'm going from a level of understanding to now walking in faith that I will see what he said. And I know sometimes it can feel like we're heavy on the front end, like, God, why are you making me do all this work on the front end? But I look forward to what God is going to do down the line because I stood and I planted seeds over the years. I've planted those seeds. God doesn't leave your life the good that you do. It will come back in another season. And he says we will reap if we faint not. So I want to encourage wives who may, or husbands who may find themselves in crisis and you feel like the odds are stacked against you and everything to the sense realm says, this is not happening. This is not going to work. Can you get with God? Can you partner with Him? Can you raise your level of understanding? Take a journey and believe in faith that what you declare and decree out of your mouth fools who God says about your spouse from the heaven realm to earth so that you can see it and be a recipient of that grace and favor because you said yes to your covenant and you did not walk away. So I hope that encourages you all. Like I said, it's a journey. I want to share my books really quick. This was the first one, The God, Grace, and Mercy, Surviving Tough Times and Seasons of Marriage. This is on Amazon. Barnes and Nobles, Lulu Publishing, all the places that you will find books, you can find that. This really gets to the questions of what are you building your marriage on? Sometimes we miss very pivotal questions. This is almost like a personal one-on-one coaching session for you to really get down to the heart of the matter. And it would be amazing if you could do it with your spouse. If not, do it in faith by yourself so you see you, so God can build with you. And then, like I said, on my journey, then I was able to evolve to powerful prayers of a proxy wife, which are daily decrees and prayers over your spouse, your marriage, and your covenant. It's a 21-day journal where you're just declaring and decreeing what heaven says about your marriage, about your covenant, and about your spouse. So I'm sure there are going to be more books to come as I continue on this journey. The journey is never done. I remember my husband came to me. He said, "Baby, I know I messed up. I did a lot of things wrong." He said, "But do you think you'll always be the proxy wife, or do you feel like because of all the things we went through, that's why you're doing what you're doing?" And I said to my husband, I said, "Baby, I will always be a proxy wife because I will always have the assignment to stand in the gap for you. I will always have the assignment to cover you. I will always have the assignment to be your helpmeet. I will always have that assignment. It may evolve in different ways where maybe I'm covering, declaring, and decreeing in a different way, but that assignment is permanent because my covenant is permanent. But there are going to be days where he is going to care for. Let me already say this. I'm declaring and decreeing, and it's already being established that I am provided for. Come on, somebody. I am cared for. I am loved. I am covered by my husband. Those things are happening and they are here, and I'm watching the fruit of that now. And even with that, I still know I got an assignment because the enemy never sleeps. Because the enemy never sleeps, I will never sleep in that regard. Now, I'm going to lean on God, but I know my assignment is not one that I could sit down permanently. I could take a break. God might be like, "Okay, sit this one now. I'm going to get in the ring." But the assignment of a wife to stand proxy and to intercede will always be there because of covenant. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Do you have any offers or, oh Lord, any offers or any way that you want any wives to contact you if they need to have a conversation with you about their marriage?
Absolutely. I will always say I'm on the Proxy Wife is my handle. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on TikTok. Just reach out to me, direct message me. I'm really kind of toying with a coaching offering one-on-one coaching for wives who are in crisis, who are like, "Okay, I need a game plan. I need a blueprint of how to proceed if I've made the decision that restoration is what I want and I'm going to agree with God." I have a very sharp prophetic gift to see the enemy that's working, and I can also offer you solutions that will help you in that journey. That is coming. It's not out there yet, but you can still connect with me via those platforms, and I will absolutely reach out. But be on the lookout for that because God is ready to restore a lot of these couples, and we are in this season of restoration. So have hope. Reach out to me, and I would love to connect.
Thank you so much, Natalie, for joining us and pouring out your story. I think your story is amazing and your assignment is amazing as well. God definitely wants to see restoration. He don't want to see the enemy continue to take these families. And so blessings to you on your journey as God takes you even deeper and further into the assignment and the role that he has for you. So Kingdom Wife Mom Bosses, thank you for joining us today. It is at this time that we are going to sign off. We're just going to say goodbye and we're going to catch you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, I hope that you enjoyed the episode. Make sure that you catch us every week here on the Kingdom Wife Mom Boss podcast, where we are bringing you new episodes, new content, new information, new empowerment, new strategies, and new strength. Until then, I'll catch you next time.